Hey everybody, we back. Joe, NWA Connie Corsos, and our dear brother Lee Robson. What's going on, man?
How you doing, bro?
Pretty
Good
good.
morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. It's Friday.
Yeah.
So,
Look out
yeah.
there. That's
Hey,
Chewy right
what's
there.
up? Which one is that?
Chewy.
Oh, Chewy.
Come
Okay.
here, girl. Come here. Let him see
What's
you.
up, Chewy?
Gonna say hey to the camera.
Yeah.
That's the one I
So,
told you that's a nut.
yeah. So we did a 3-hour podcast. You covered a lot on genetics the
Yeah,
other
and
day.
we skipped that one topic that we're gonna
Yeah.
hit real quick today.
Right. So so we're gonna talk a little bit on selection. Um, yeah, man. If you want to take it over, I'll kind of chime in and ask a few things if I feel the audience might want to ask something or I need something.
Yeah, we danced around this topic of selection briefly, but I wanted to more properly clarify the what I meant by modeling nature. And Bert Sorrells and I spoke a little bit about this. He talked about excuses versus allowances. He said never ever make excuses. Excuses means the dog failed the test, and people will be like, "Well, he's too young," or "I didn't socialize him," or "he was sick," or just make excuses, and because they like that dog and they're kennel blind, or
Right.
or they might be like, well, he's got a great pedigree, I'm going to use him anyway, or maybe I spent a bunch of money for the dog, or it's the last of the bloodline. uh, you can't breed a dog that fails regardless of the excuse. The difference between an excuse and an allowance is an allowance is a dog for a dog that wins. Then you might say something like, yeah, but the dog's a little cowhawk, but he won. Or maybe the dog is doesn't really look as good as I'd like, but he won. And I've jokingly told somebody one time that if you have a person that has a yard of high quality dogs, and yet there's one dog out there that's kind of ugly, maybe its feet are not perfect, or maybe it's just a ugly color or something silly that doesn't matter. There's something that's kind of just, maybe the dog's a little sloppy or something.
Mhm.
Um, if that guy is known for having a high standard, then that dog is probably a serious worker, because why would a person with a high standard keep an ugly dog? That's
Right.
what's called an allowance. You can allow things you don't like if the dog wins or performs, but you cannot allow things that you do like if the dog loses.
Mhm.
So so you can, or let me rephrase that. You can allow things you don't like if the dog wins, but you cannot make excuses for things that you do like if the dog loses. And this is important to avoid kennel blindness. A lot of people are kennel blind because they want to justify using a dog because it's the last of a bloodline, or it cost a lot of money, or it looks really nice, or the parents were really good, or and the structure is really nice, and
Right.
or whatever, or whatever. So the difference between allowances and excuses is win or lose.
Thus, the term form follows function.
Form follows function.
Mhm.
You can go breed a dog that has the right form, but the function won't be there, because you look at that. Let's say, oh, look at his big jaws, look at his big head. He's going to bite really hard.
Mhm.
Not if he doesn't want to.
Mhm.
Maybe he's got a big head, but he lacks the desire. Maybe something's wrong inside that we can't see. Um, so form follows function, because nature doesn't allow excuses. You either do it or you don't. And we
Yeah.
touched about this briefly when I talked about the animal with the messed up leg or the missing leg, and I said, can the dog with 3 legs run as fast as the dog with 4 legs? And I said, you can allow that. We're not allowing the missing leg. We're allowing whatever it was that made up for it.
Right.
The superior cardiovascular system, the
Mhm.
superior respiratory system, the superior fast twitch muscle, the superior oxygenation of the muscle. Um, or whatever it is, the superior tendon strength, the superior mindset. It's these things that we try to capture. And then later on, after we capture those desired traits, then we will try to clean out the undesired traits in the next generation. But we want to capture what works and then clean out what doesn't work. I've jokingly compared breeding dogs to cooking and having a little bit of shit in it. Now, if you have a little bit of crap in your ingredients, you don't want to eat that. You might
Right.
have a beautiful birthday cake. Everything's made perfect, but the chef or cook went to the restroom, didn't wash their hands, and they got a little bit of something in it, and you're like, I don't want that. When you go to select your animals, even though looking for perfect and highly desirable traits is an important aspect, it's also important to look for a little bit of crap. And I analyze a dog three ways. Well, you could even say, well, I'll say three. First, I very quickly look at the breeder slash pedigree. I'm going to look at that breeder and pedigree to see if it's a breeder that I like, if it's a pedigree that I like, but I'm only going to look real close. The first man that has the dog, the parents, and maybe the grandparents, and then I'm kind of like yes, no. On my avatar for this or thumbnail for this video, I had a thumbs up and a thumbs down. The
Hmm.
thumbs down should be before the thumbs up because you don't get approved until you pass that finish line.
Right.
So we're going to try to cull multiple times along the way. So
Yeah.
right off the bat, if that breeder's somebody I don't trust or don't like, thumbs down. Not doing business with them.
Exactly.
If the parents or grandparents are somebody I don't uh, respect in terms of performance or pedigree, thumbs down.
Right.
Then after we pass the breeder selection and the parents and the grandparents, then I'll look at the dog
Mhm.
because I've got thumbs up. It hasn't been cold. It's worth further analysis. Now I'm going to look at that dog very carefully and look at all the traits that I desire. I want to see, you know, good fast twitch muscle for power. I want to see good oxygenation and stamina and recovery for endurance, and not only endurance today, but also endurance for longevity. Will it be able to work still when it's 10 years old?
Mhm.
So I'm looking for recovery time while working and also recovery time after working. Like when's the next time this dog can work if it takes a long time to recover. And then I'm going to look for determination, drive, stability, companionship. And then, after I do all those things, I might look at structure. Obviously, we're going to look at athleticism along the way.
Yeah.
So we're looking for any reason to give a thumbs down. Any thumbs down anywhere along the way, that animal is denied. After I've passed the first evaluation of the breeder and early generations, then I do the performance testing on the dog. If it passes that, then I'll go back and look at that pedigree in a more in-depth analysis and looking and seeing how is this dog really bred. In the first two generations, you might see a full brother-sister breeding or a parent offspring breeding, or if it looks like it's an outcross. But you're not going to see if it's really a line breeding or a really a sustained family over time unless you look further back in the ped. And while I may do a quick glance at that, I'm really not going to study it initially. But
Mhm.
after the initial evaluation and then the test of the dog, then I'll go back and really study this pedigree before I jump into it and see how this dog is really bred. Is it a line with consistent traits, or is it going to be a scatterbred dog that's going to be produce inconsistent traits? Because I like my breeding stock to be um, consistent producers. And I like my working dogs to be able to really work. And the ideal combination is to have both, but you got to balance that. We talked about the line breeding versus outcrossing. It's a balancing act. You can't just
Right.
do one or the other. There's time and place for both. They're just tools in the toolbox that you use when you need it. Don't turn a hammer into a screwdriver or a screwdriver into a hammer. You use each method when it's appropriate to use each method.
Mhm.
And so that's something that I wanted to discuss, separating excuses from allowances. And that's what nature does. You either
Right.
do it and I said this in the original video, you either do it or you don't.
Yeah.
We are not gods. We can't look at something and say, well, this, form follows function, not function follows form.
Exactly.
If function followed form, we could breed a dog to look a certain way, like they do in dog shows, and then
I
put it,
was waiting on you.
yeah, and then put it in a performance event, and
Yeah.
that dog would win. A lot of times we hear people say this is the biggest lie there is in show breeders. They
Mhm.
say if everything else was equal, the dog with the better structure would win. The lie is not that statement. The lie is the precursor initiative, and that is if everything else was equal. Never is everything else in a dog equal. We're different in so many ways. You're never going to find dogs that are identical in every way except for conformation. It's not going to happen. They're going to be different. You breed to the dog, not to the trait. That dog brings with it everything it has. So you're never going to find two dogs exactly the same. but one has better structure. There's always going to be other things that are different as well. So that lie to try to justify form breeding is a
Yeah.
deception of the mind. We're not gods. We cannot speak everything else to be equal. We have to assess what's in front of us and be honest about it.
Should a working dog be able to compete in a show?
Absolutely. But it may or may not win because it's not bred for the show. Now, sometimes you'll find that perfectly formed dog that was produced through natural selection and artificial selection of performance, where obviously a dog with, if you test dogs, the dog that is the best overall is going to win. Now, sometimes that best is produced by having better conformation, but maybe that confirmation was compensating for a weakness in another area, but maybe that confirmation also came with a strength in another area. We
Hmm.
don't know. We can't see every single component of a dog.
Yeah.
We see what is visually available, and then we can also see the results of a performance test.
Right. Right. Let me ask you this, Lee. You've
Yep.
been in the game a very long time, and you have a critical eye, which most people may not have.
I
What?
think you can develop a little bit of an eye, but
Right.
I also think some of it's gifted.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't just do this with dogs. Like I talked about with the cars and whatever.
Hmm.
You can see paint job. I even see the same thing with people, and I don't. I try to not do this with people because you can come off as a strange person if you're
Hmm.
looking at how somebody is put together structurally. But it's
Hmm.
kind of like when somebody walks by me, I can tell if they're a lot of times if they're naturally athletic or if they've developed athleticism just by looking at how their muscles are put together, or skeletal structures put together, and how they move. And a lot of times if you look at somebody, you can see if they play a certain sport or not because certain sports develop certain features, and you can see those features being enhanced in a person's natural phenotype. Not always, but you can see these things if you look
Hmm.
at it. It's just
Yeah.
the gift that I have, but I also have my weaknesses. Don't let me fool you. I'm not
Yeah.
perfect. I have my weaknesses too.
Right. On this particular strength, um, and you got new guys coming up or novices or intermediate guys. What ways do you recommend them to help with kennel blindness? They do you have somebody in the same breed, say, have them come by and say, man, let somebody else look at your kennel. What do you think
Well,
about
I think that's a good idea if they're missing that trait. Let me get the herder back off. Hey, baby, you're a great dog. Down. Come on, let's go. Let me move that pillow away. Go. The she's still here with me, but she got her paw on me. I don't know if you see it. She really wants me to interact with her. Maybe she'll lay down. That's okay. All right. So you have to have some experience with people that know what to look for. And sometimes I think that a skill can be developed, but some people just can't develop the skill. You have to, some people can learn how to play a musical instrument. Some people are gifted with an ability to naturally play a musical instrument.
it?
And then some people you can try and try and try to teach them how to play a musical instrument, but they just don't have the timing or the ear.
Yeah,
And they're not going to do it.
right.
Some people may want to be a singer, but they just don't have the voice. You can practice and improve, but you're never going to be great. You just don't have what it takes, and that's the way we all. I mean, I could never be a singer. I sound like a chicken with his head cut off. But I'm not blessed with that skill. I can recognize good music, but I can't deliver it. My dog is going to knock this computer over. She's upside down playing
But,
with me.
but what about with training? Do you think training can get you
Yeah,
pretty much on another level? I mean, you never be
it'll,
like on American
it'll
Idol.
always exercise is going to always make a person better, but
Hmm.
they may not become Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah, that's
right?
right.
So you're going to always have room for improvement by getting experience and getting an education. But um, and there was something. Let's see. How did I want to say this? Give me a minute.
Yes, sir.
Entertain your guest for a minute while I try to
Okay.
gather my thoughts.
Hey, welcome, chat. Let's get the likes up, please. Let's get the likes up. Pop up show. We popped up on y'all today. Salute Doug. Salute Jose.
Yeah, I think I sent you a message that actually elaborated on something I wanted to say.
Let me look here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So I talked about seeing the details in a message that I sent you, but it's not important, or it's not enough to just see the details. It's also important to know why the details are there. So this goes back to excuses versus allowances, and also knowing a definition versus understanding and applying a definition. So a
Yeah.
lot of people that are learning genetics, they might know the definition of the word if they stop and think about it.
Hmm.
Like the other day when we had a 3 hour video and we talked about genetic drift and gene flow, I know the definitions, but when I got to talking about something over and over again, I did end up using the wrong term and we had to splice that out and cut that out, because gene flow is when it moves fast through an outcross. Genetic drift is when it moves slow through line breeding and selection. But when a person doesn't truly understand a word, they are going to have a hard time using that word in context. Maybe they can use it, but can they also receive it and maintain a fluid conversation, or do they have to pause and think about it? Success is really going to take place in dog breeding when you not only see the behavior, but you also understand the behavior. For
Hmm.
example, let's say that you're training a dog in protection work and the dog does this with its eyes. All right, it looked away. I want to know. I mean, you might see that the dog looked away, but you need to understand also, why did the dog look away? Was the dog looking away from the agitator to avoid eye contact with that man? Or was there somebody over here to the left that was moving and the dog needed to watch not only the one in front of him, but also the man on the side?
Good point. Good point.
Two different reasons for the
Yeah.
same behavior. So you need to be able to look at what's going on and not only see what's going on, but also understand why it's going on. Because the first one was curring out, trying to avoid eye contact. The second one was stepping up. Not only will I take you on, I'll take you on too at the same time. Two
Mhm.
different things, two different reasons for the same behavior. And that's something that uh, a person with a good eye will see and understand.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Um, when the pedigree part, I argue a lot offline about um the pedigree. How far back in the pedigree, personally, with you, do you think has the most effect? Is it the third generation?
Well,
Back-
it kind of depends on how that dog is bred. So if the dog is line bred or inbred for a number of generations, then the dogs further back are going to play a more significant role.
Mhm.
So coefficient of relationship and coefficient of inbreeding come into play when a dog is further back in a pedigree. I want to know if it's line bred or inbred, and highly related to an individual further back. If the dog is, let's say, only shows up one time in the pedigree 5 generations back, I don't care about that dog. But if the
Right.
dog shows up, let's say 7 times, 6 generations back, even though it's further back, it shows up so many times that it's now displaying a much higher percentage of influence. I might want to know uh, more about that dog and also about that breeder. Why is he using this dog? What traits was he actually trying to capture from this dog? Because not only are we going to look at the traits of that dog, we're going to want to see if the traits that this dog was known for are consistently displayed in the dogs that are following the pedigree. Because not only are we seeing that name, we're a consistent name, we're also looking for a consistency of traits. And if we
Right.
see those consistency of traits, then proper selection was made. If we see a dog that's repeatedly a lot, but the descendants that were used from that dog do not display those traits, then we have a breeder that's using pedigree breeding instead of performance breeding. And I don't want a person that's using the same dog over and over again when those dogs that are descended from that dog are not displaying the traits that that dog was known for. I want
Right.
to see that those descendants are also displaying what is that dog was famous for, to make sure that that breeder was selecting for what was desired instead of selecting for a pedigree.
Right. What role does temperament play in the selection of working dogs?
Well, it depends on the work. If you're having a dog for hog catch, then all you need is stability. You don't need necessarily environmental stability, but you need human stability, because you don't want your dog to attack a hog hunter that's pulling that dog off. You don't need a dog that's going to. You also don't care if the dog is nervous from an ambulance or a police officer, because you're going to be in the woods. Sirens is what I'm getting at. Or
Mhm.
let's say the dog is concerned about certain things. If the dog is let's say nervous in the city, but he's only going to work in the country, then environmental stability doesn't matter. But if you're going to have a protection dog or a sport dog or a police dog or a dog that's going to be jogging with somebody in the city, then you need stability too.
Mhm.
So it depends on the environment. The thing is to put the right dog in the right person's hands. So if you have a dog that's not necessarily up to your standard for your breeding program,
Mhm.
but it's still a good dog for somebody else, make sure that you're like, well, this dog could do that. That doesn't mean sell the dog. That means sell the dog to the right person.
Mhm.
Don't put a dog that should just that's capable of doing A with the person that wants B. You know, you got to match. Listen to your buyer. Listen to your client. And you're like, okay, this dog is a great dog. He's exactly what I want, but my yard's full. That guy over there is a breeder or worker. He's worthy of this dog.
Mhm.
Then, so you can sell a great dog that you'd want to keep to somebody that has a similar desire or similar need. Then you have another dog that may be a good dog, but he's not necessarily exactly what you want, and so you're like, well, he's worthy of selling, but he needs to go to the right home. So let's say maybe this dog's nerves are not super good with gunfire. Well, then don't sell that dog to a hunter, you know, because a hunter's
Right.
going to probably use a firearm. You don't
Right.
want to use. I heard one guy, I couldn't believe this. The way he um, got his dogs gun broke so they would be fine around gunfire
Mhm.
is he would take the dog out in a boat, a little John boat, put a leash on a dog, tie the leash to the boat, shoot the gun. The dog would jump out of the boat and swim until it got tired. He'd put the dog back in the boat, shoot the gun again. The dog would jump out, swim until it was tired, put the dog back in. What he's trying to do is through exhaustion of the dog, having the dog get used to the gun. That's in
Well,
my that's
yeah.
not right. That's very cruel.
Dog. Dog.
uh, the way you do something like that is if you ever watch my videos on how I acclimate a dog, I acclimate every dog the same. When it comes to something, some dogs just take more time and others don't take a lot of time. But what I'll do is I'll start off with a whip, crack that whip, make that sound. But the first time I introduce the whip, I'm running away. So now the dog has a conflict. The conflict is chase the prey item that's running away or avoid the sound. Now, some dogs don't have any desire to avoid the sound. They're not worried about it at all. They don't even care. But I start off with that very easy step first. I don't put a kindergartner in calculus class.
Mhm.
We're gonna in kindergarten. We're doing kindergarten stuff, no matter how smart you are.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to start off with even the best dogs with very basic things. Some dogs are not scared at sound at all, but I'm still going to run away and crack that whip. So they have that desire to hunt, chase, and catch, which helps them overcome any apprehension that may exist in their mind. But I'm still going to notice the ones that didn't have the apprehension versus the ones that did, right?
Gotcha.
And so, yep. And I'm okay with it. I'm totally okay with the dog. Let's say it's working the bite. If it's a puppy, and the first couple of times it hears the sound, it lets go and looks around like, what is that? But it's inquisitive. That's not the same as letting go and saying, what is that? Let's get the hell out of here. That's two different responses. So I'm looking for a dog that lets go nervously versus a dog that lets go inquisitively.
Mm.
Different reasons why a dog lets go.
Right.
And you can tell that in the body language. Is the dog up and looking around, like alert, like what do I need to look at now? Or is the dog crouching, saying, oh, what do I need to be concerned about now?
Mhm.
So it's not the same behavior. There's little signs that you can see if you're looking for, and you might be able to train some of these things, but a person's natural instincts are always going to matter. I saw a show one time. This was like 10 or 15 years ago,
Mhm.
where they had these socially awkward guys that were really intelligent academically, but they were very socially awkward.
Mhm.
And they gave in this show, they were trying to teach socially awkward people socially awkward men. What do they call them? Incels, people that
Yeah.
are involuntarily
Yeah.
celibate.
Uh-huh.
They want to mingle, but they just don't have the social skills.
Right.
Well, they found that if they taught these people in a classroom setting how to interact
Mhm.
with a woman,
Mhm.
they were actually more successful by following a list of rules because socially they just couldn't learn it. But they were never as good as a person that just understood. So they would say, "Hey, be interested in the woman, ask her a question, get her talking." But then after she talks for too long, they told these guys this. kind of act like you're starting to lose interest, like you got your own shit going on, you're important, you have priorities. She's important, but she's not so important that you're going to distract her other interests. And so listen for a second and then kind of tune her out and kind of do your own thing and maybe
Mhm.
interrupt her. And they were
Yeah.
like that way she thinks that you've got your own things going on.
Hmm.
You're interested in her, but
Yeah.
you're not going to give up your own identity,
Hmm.
because then you're just what do they call them, emasculated person, you know.
Right.
So and then these guys certainly improved their abilities
Hmm.
to talk to uh, other people, but they were never the same thing as a player, so to speak, that
Right. Yeah.
that had that social skills and was a lot
Hmm.
of fun and really was interested in them, but also was so caught up in his own life that
Yeah.
he was Clint Eastwood, the romantic macho guy. He wanted to be romantic, but he was also a real man.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so you can improve, but if it's not natural, you're going to get better, but you're going to cap at a lower level than somebody that's really got that natural ability.
That's true. Yeah. That's so funny. There's no better way you could have put that. You know what I mean? I got another one for you. Um, you've been doing this a while, and whenever you be in the game of doing anything a long time, you see trends. What trends have you noticed in the selection of working dogs over the past years that's good or bad?
Social media is good and bad. It's good because it helps people with a common interest connect. It helps people promote their products, but it also allows people to be deceived because information is really almost too accessible. Information should be accessible when it's legitimate information. I believe that in the free speech, and one of the things I don't like in my own personal platforms is I have some restrictions on what is allowed to be said. And I don't like that. I do like free speech. I want people to be able to entertain and promote their ideas. The problem with that is when you get false news
Hmm.
and you don't have time to correct it. It would be great if we had free speech should always be allowed if we have enough editors and enough qualified people to
True.
properly screen and counter these topics and have a legitimate sincere conversation. But the problem with there's trolls, and
Hmm.
trolls can destroy the success of a successful person if that successful person takes their eye off what's important and focuses on the troll,
Yeah.
because now the successful person's not doing what he's called to do or she's called to do. They're busy dealing with fake news, and that is a problem. While if we had if we really had balance, then free speech should be allowed, and it really should be allowed. And I don't like that I have to regulate some of this stuff, but you know, you see stupid stuff online. I don't know if you've ever heard that people used to feed fighting dogs gunpowder to make them.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
come on, dude, that's just absolute nonsense. So when I see somebody post like that, do I explain to them why that's nonsense, or
Hmm.
do I just see that this person has made some nonsense posts multiple times and say this is ridiculous? This person's ridiculous. He's wanting to talk like he's an expert, but he really doesn't know what he's talking about, and just call him out of the group. It would be better if we were all in there and we had enough people that were experienced to correct those kind of falsehoods, because the way to change that person's mind is by delivering them the proof. But I'm already working 80 hours a week, and I
Yeah.
can't.
But
Uh,
you know what, Lee? You know, that can be a different thing too, because the trolls sometimes, especially if it's uh other channels, other people who are trying to work their way up, and the knowledge really ain't there, they leech on to you. You know what you got more than them besides the knowledge is the name. So if they can,
well, some of these guys have some pretty big names because they have no life, and so they can just troll all day long.
yeah, yeah,
And those are the ones that I struggle with. It's not the ones that just have a sincere question. That's fine. But
right,
some of them have. Remember in the other video we talked about seeking to discover the truth
that's right.
versus seeking to prove. Have you ever argued with somebody that knew they were wrong, but they just were not going to let you win the argument?
Yeah, because they had a rock head. I'm
Yeah,
gonna believe this
you
despite
know,
whatever.
sometimes they even know they're wrong, but they just
Mhm.
won't win. They won't yield because they want to win the argument.
Right. Or
Pride,
have the last word.
right? Pride
Yeah.
is the destruction of man,
Right. Right.
and so um, that's one of the goods and one of the bad. Social media allows education, but it also you have to be careful about who your teachers are and your mentors are. Can they do and explain, and are they really qualified? You know, we know one person that's always trying to give protection advice and is only trained with somebody to talk to on the phone. I mean, if you don't know anything and you listen to this guy talk, you might think, well, he makes a good point here, he makes a good point there. But if you have experience, you see holes in his rhetoric. There's a
Right.
lot of holes in that rhetoric, and an unqualified person is easily deceived. So the qualified people have to step up and correct that incorrect information. But unfortunately, the qualified people are busy being successful, and they don't have time to deal with that constantly. I think it's funny that that one person that you know who I'm talking about has made dozens and dozens of videos about a multitude of people, and then if those people reply even with one video, he says, "How dare you attack me?" But you're claiming to be a defense expert, but yet you think I'm attacking you when I defend my position that you falsely represented 2 dozen times.
Right.
Um, so it's just that's the way people are nowadays.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. It is. And uh, be, being that I've been doing this podcast, man, I've been seeing a lot of different things. Lee, I see people who watch the channel just to combat the person. The person can be like, gave you a whole 2 hour of jewels, but they waiting for that one thing, that
That
one
one mistake.
slip
Yep.
up, one slip up, or one thing they just don't agree with. Everything else don't matter.
Yep.
You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, yeah. So I've been doing this, man, and it's been a journey.
Yeah. I see Devin Gamble asked, "Who is this person? I need to know." I'll send you a message on it. I'm not going to give this troll recognition on in one of the groups. There's a
Man,
statement that says, "Small-minded people talk about people.
mhm,
Big-minded people talk about ideas."
that's right.
Um, to me, it's important to address the idea. It's not important to name this person
Mhm,
because I'm not trying to destroy this man's life. I'm just saying the viewer that sees this information needs to know the truth. But I just am limited on time. So the best thing I can do is to put some proof out there and truth out there and hope that the audience is able to recognize what's real versus not real. Real recognizes real, but
right,
rookies don't. And
right.
rookies sometimes want to be real, but they don't have the experience and education to recognize the real versus the unreal because they're just getting started. So
Yeah,
you and me might see the flaws, but somebody else might not, and that's concerning because we do want the truth out there. But I'm not gonna I'm not trying to destroy the man's life. I'm not attacking him. I know that he's accused me of trying to call some group to get him attacked. That I've never done that. I don't care
yeah,
about this person. Not
right.
interested in destroying this person's life at all. I
Well,
just
like we got time.
yeah, man. I ain't got time. I'm working 8 hours a week, and
Yeah,
so the only time I see his content is when somebody emails me and lets me know,
yeah,
hey,
hey,
look
yeah.
at this.
Ooh. Yeah, guys, don't email me or nothing on what nobody's sending me, man, because
I don't want to
yeah,
see it
yeah,
either. I'm busy.
yeah, yeah.
And
But
because
I tell
a
you what,
5 minute conversation turns into a half a day, and I
yeah,
can't do it. I can't
yeah,
do it.
yeah. And I see it, it's the same old rigmarole and stuff that don't make sense. And I got I got I got people that hate me for having guys like you on, because they feel like it's blocking their way, like
Yeah,
I'm
well, you know, there is there is some stuff that I'm gonna send you a message.
okay. Salute
The
chat. Can we get the lights up, please? Can we get the lights up, please? Yes, yes. Jose nerded. Trolls just protect their inadequacy. You show right, buddy. Let me put that up. I know exactly who you talked about. Don't waste your time. Old wives' tales. What's up, Ferza? I'm gonna call you, bro.
So you let me know if you
Yeah,
want me to.
yeah. Let's
All
go.
right, all right. So there's a person out there that I may have a lot of respect for a lot of the things that they say, but I believe that peers should be able to talk to peers, and when people have non-disclosure agreements for their program, I am kind of step on your program. I'm not trying to step on your program, but I am going to step on that idea. A non-disclosure statement about saying, "Hey, I want to learn about what you're having to offer," is a bit ridiculous because what that does is that tells other people that are qualified in the field, I can't talk to you because now if I talk to you and you say something that I've known for 10 years or and then it's been done for 50 years, you're going to say I can't talk about something that happened before you were even born. So non-disclosures are ridiculous, and any program that's selling us an idea or an education that requires a non-disclosure, in my opinion, is ridiculous because to think that they're coming up with some concept that has not already been done time and time again is arrogant. These things that these breeding methods that people, I know what this person is going to be promoting because there's only so many ways that you can skin a cat. So it's going to be this or it's going to be that. I may not know exactly what that person's calling it or what that person's doing, but there's only so many ways you can approach what he's presenting, and um, and we know we've looked at pedigrees that show a lot of the practices that I'm sure he's pulling some similarities out of those pedigrees that have been done 50 years ago. But the problem with that is now a person that has an equal or maybe even superior education has to muzzle themselves because they signed a non-disclosure, and that's not what professionals do. So if you want to offer a school or an education in a field and charge somebody for it, thumbs up, but get rid of the non-disclosure because that what that does is it prevents people from actually having an honest conversation, because if there's any fallacies in the teachings that are presented, now they can't be challenged because of a non-disclosure. You can't say, "Well, I challenge this idea that you're presenting, and here's why," because then you're exposing the idea that they're presenting, and you're not allowed to do that. So, and then if you agree with that idea, you can't say that either because it sounds as if you got that idea from that person, which is also ludicrous when these ideas have been presented since before we were born. I mean, we can see the breeding methods that were used 50 years ago. And so, as a result of that, if you really want people to join your school, get rid of the non-disclosures. Charge people for an education. That's fine. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. But get rid of the non-disclosures because the non-disclosures just makes it look like you're trying to say you have some secret recipe that you created, and the truth is you did.
I had contacted a person, and a lot of you guys have respect for this person with the one of these schools or online courses, and she knew who I was, and and I want to just I was actually asking questions offline. Do you know she wouldn't respond to me, but she's always said there's so much misinformation online. She touts that, but you won't even conversate with me, and I'm known for putting people on talking about different things, and but through a message you won't even respond to just general questions.
Yeah, they don't
Well,
want to be challenged. They want to
right,
present themselves on an expert in a field that maybe they
right,
know a little bit about, but are they really an expert? And if you have a non-disclosure, you can't you can't have a legitimate conversation because
right,
now they're going to try to muzzle you, even if you know more than they do. Uh,
right.
that's going to Harvard, yeah, Harvard. I told you I talked to professors at Harvard. I talked to Cornell. I talked to University of Illinois, and then there was another place. What was that other place? Princeton. none of those professors who are the leaders, the true leaders in the fields of genetics, have ever even talked about having. Well, you can't tell anybody what we talk about. What true professionals do is they get their information published in journals because they want to share the truth. That's what true professionals do. They try to push that envelope out so the community is better, so humanity is better, and
Right. Right.
so the animals that we breed are better.
Yeah.
That's what a true professional does. They share ideas, and there's nothing wrong with making a living, right? There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that at all. But the non-disclosure, charge for an education. Don't
Right.
charge for non-disclosure.
Yeah. And
Secret,
yeah.
secret formula. That's my bottled snake oil.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'm all for guys of your caliber who I really wish y'all would do more breeding online stuff or closed sessions because of the previous situation we was talking about. The people
Yeah,
who are not serious. You know what I'm saying? Let's go
yeah.
over there, even if it's just a cheap little fee, and we don't have to worry about all that over there. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, unfortunately, you have a fake it till you make it crowd. And so some things do need to be private because if you put some things out public, somebody that's really not dedicated will try to say what you said in a sound bite to make it sound like they can do it, but they really can't. So you want to kind of keep those fakers out. But at the same time, like for example, I have a Patreon. I'm probably going to cancel my Patreon. I've looked at my account, and I need to somehow make things right with the people who are members of my Patreon because I'm not active enough on there. And so I thought about closing out the Patreon and just putting it on YouTube because on Patreon you have paying customers that value your information, and that's good and appreciated, and I respect that. But I need to find a way of what information do I really want to keep to myself versus what information am I willing to share with others so the community and the dogs can be better. And the truth of the matter is, I pretty much am okay with everything being open to the public because I'm a pretty
Right. Yeah.
transparent person. So if
Yeah.
I'm a pretty transparent person and I'm willing to give everything to the public, then how do I justify charging a Patreon member for selective view? So
Right.
I have to deal with that own cognitive dissonance on how to manage that situation.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm gonna say this. I remember coming up, my dad was a preacher, right? You know that. And so he started the church in the house. And for years, years upon years, he never took a salary. Never took it. He was so against it. And then but it was an old he he uh he reformed the old pimp that had a body shop and he made a lot of money. So this dude was when he joined our church, he was giving the church so much money and he was adamant about it. No, you need to be taken care of for what you've done for the flock. You need to be taken, And so I'm kind of like, I think you should if people give you cash app, whatever, do whatever it is for the time you sit down, like you're really busy, me and you both texting, you got time to do this? What you doing? Blah, 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 blah. I'm running here.
Right.
I'll be back. Yeah. The
Right.
time
And
and knowledge, you know what I'm
that's
saying?
where things like the super chat and the donations or
Yeah.
people
So
can donate. I
yeah,
ask people to donate when they personally benefit. If they
right.
benefit, then hey, hit that super like, hit whatever it is, that super thanks. Send the cash app if you want to.
Yeah.
Donate and support me and pay me or pay you for an education that was valuable to you.
Mm,
But if it was just entertainment, you can
right.
donate if you want to, but I don't ask you to because if I'm just wasting your time, I'd rather you do something more productive.
Yeah. Yeah. Buck made a good point. He said it's called use your members only. I do that. I do rotate videos in and out of my members only, you know.
I'll have to talk to
Yeah.
you about that. I don't know how to rotate videos
Yeah.
in and out. I know how to make
I'll,
them private and not
I'll,
private,
yeah. Yeah. It's
or
private. Yeah.
listed and unlisted,
Yeah. Well, no,
public,
no, no.
unlisted, and private.
Yeah, you can do that, but it can be paid too. Like I do a $1.99 one. People join it, watch some videos that I just rotate videos in and out of that and then they $1.99 a month. That's something. Hey, they pay for this StreamYard. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
I want to more consolidate my stuff onto YouTube. I think it's good to have more platforms. But the problem with more platforms is I don't have the time for more platforms.
Right.
So, it'd be nice if I was active on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, whatever else there is. X, I like X. I guess that's Twitter, X, and YouTube as well. But I don't have time to promote all the time. I got work to do. What are you going to
Yeah.
promote if you're not working?
Yeah. You're right.
I'm not a fake it till you make it type. I'm gonna go
Right.
out and get something done.
Well, I tell you what, we gotta help each other. Well, like you helped me understand some stuff on YouTube. Buck is really good at telling you how to do stuff. You on my Instagram? I'm showing you on my Instagram right now. So you can
I
hook
am.
up a lot of. Oh yeah, you can hook up a lot of audiences on these platforms, and so
I have an Instagram, and I look at it maybe once every 2 weeks. That's terrible.
yeah,
So I don't want people to contact me on Instagram. I want you to email me or text me.
that's right. Yeah,
I don't. I mean, because if they Facebook message me, sometimes I don't get that. Facebook routes stuff to spam sometime, and I don't even know that I got a message.
Right. Yeah. I don't try to take on too many as well. I'm staying on YouTube, Instagram, and Instagram post to my Facebook for me, so I don't even have to do that. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Mhm.
Well, man, hey, I ain't got nothing else, brother.
Well, that's really what I was wanting to address. Let me check the messages that I sent you to see if I covered all the topics. I said, hey, we need to hit these few topics.
Salute Buck City. Salute Dickie Foster. Salute Javier Noriega. Man, y'all be careful out Friday. I got litters on the ground and I'm working next week. Well, I'm busy, so I'm gonna try to squeeze in shows as I can. I'm really busy right now.
Well, let's close out real quickly with a note that I had that related to what we started off with, and that was the thumbs up, thumbs down. The no excuses, but we do have allowances. Uh, you don't make excuses for what fails, but you do allow what works, even if it's not perfect. It works. It works. All right, and then you try to improve those things that you want to that you're allowing that you don't like because the dog works. You try to improve those in the next generation, and what that is there's basically 4 different positions of thumbs. You can have sorry ped, sorry dog. I don't allow that. You can have a good ped and a sorry dog. I don't allow that. You can have a bad ped and a good dog. I don't allow that. The only way you're allowed here is if you're a good ped and a good dog. And
Mhm.
truthfully, when I look at that ped, I'm also looking at the breeder as well. So you need 3 thumbs up to come here. And I'm talking about the dog.
There you
Good
go.
ped, good breeder, and good dog.
That's what's up. That's what's
So I
up.
wanted to close out with that, and if they can remember that, we'll be pretty good.
Hey, sounds good to me. All right. Well, everybody, that's it. We just wanted to come in and cover a few things. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you in the whirlwind.
All right, you take care. And if anybody doesn't think I'm telling the truth on that non-disclosure, that person that has it, they can contact me, and I'll say, look, this is what you got to be doing, one of these things. And I don't know which one you're going to be doing, but you're going to be doing one of these things. And these things have been done for centuries.
All right.
Catch you later, brother.
All right. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Hey, Mickey, what's up?